This is the beginning of Podcast 5 on Chapter 2, the Skill Theme Approach. We're starting here with a chart that compares the skill theme approach for elementary to the traditional method of teaching physical education, which usually describes how we teach most secondary classes. The primary emphasis on the traditional method is to teach children or young adults games, dances, and gymnastics without regard to skill acquisition. The primary emphasis is on providing learning experiences based on a child's age or grade, which we don't do in this method, and the scope and sequence usually is in preset units of 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and so on. In the skill theme approach, we try to look at fundamental motor skill acquisition and competency. We're trying to get children to get better at moving using the fundamental movement skills. The primary emphasis is also on providing learning experiences that are appropriate for their developmental level. Best way to do that is to give the students choices on how they intend to move according to whatever challenge we set up for them. The scope and sequence is designed to reflect the needs and interests of students over a period of years. Competence in performing a variety of locomotor, non-manipulative, and manipulative motor skills is a major purpose of the skill theme approach. We want them to be able to have competence in a variety of skills. We want them to be able to practice them in isolation by themselves or in combination with other skills and or with other people and or with other movement concepts. This spiral that's on this particular slide shows how skill themes are practiced initially in isolation, then in combination with other skills and concepts, and leads to their use in games, dance, and gymnastics. What we want to emphasize here is that at the very top part of this spiral is the more proficient level. At the bottom of this spiral is the more pre-control level. You will see this spiral often in your textbook trying to describe which levels and tasks are appropriate at each level of proficiency. The second characteristic, of course, means that we want to provide experiences in movement for children that's appropriate to their developmental level instead of their age or their grade. Tasks are selected based on children's abilities, not a predetermined calendar. The teaching schedule for us will be constantly changing because you'll see a little bit more each time that you teach about the developmental level of the class that you have overall. That means that you need to adjust your planning from time to time as you learn more about the students and about their ability levels. The scope and sequence for a skill theme approach is designed to reflect the varying needs and interests of students over a period of years. So over that period of years, there could be several students in the same class that are at the pre-control level. There could be some more students in that class that are at the utilization level. So that is why it's important to let children explore different movement capabilities according to their own readiness. And again, as said previously in this podcast, usually skill themes are practiced for several weeks at a time, and they're revisited throughout the year so that students do not ever lose those skills in kicking or throwing or catching or whatever, and that we're not doing the same things over and over again. Characteristic 4 of the skill theme approach, it emphasizes instructional alignment. In other words, this is the alignment that you will use as you are teaching the students your 6 lessons. Some of you will have 3 lessons, the first 3 lessons. Some of you will have the second 3 lessons. In other words, one of you is teacher X and one of you is teacher Y, and teacher X will always have the first of the lessons. In the skill theme approach, the teacher decides what the students can learn in a lesson and develops some objectives. Then the teacher develops a series of learning tasks to assist children to accomplish those objectives. In other words, what they're going to practice. And then at the end of the lesson, the teacher assesses to determine if those lesson objectives have been accomplished. Usually that's through questioning. Sometimes it's through students demonstrating what they've learned. This last slide shows some additional skill theme approach qualities that are very important for us to discuss. The skill theme approach also integrates physical fitness as part of daily lessons. Many times we will stop as teachers or stop the class as teachers and ask, can you feel your heart beating? And why is it important for that your heart to be beating as fast as it is now after you've been running? Shouldn't it be beating faster or should it be beating slower? Those things are some concepts that we're trying to get across to students about how important it is to be physically active. It also emphasizes both the cognitive and affective domains. It helps children understand the hows and the whys of movement. It also gives them the opportunity to feel good about themselves because they are successful at doing certain physical skills. Not all students will be good at certain physical skills. It is possible for a child to be at the utilization level for kicking, but at the pre-control level for throwing and catching. So that's important to remember. We aren't just one little stamped skill level for everything that we do. Lastly, the cognitive domain for us in this class, teaching the 3 and 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds, means that we're going to be teaching them about academic language, or the movement vocabulary that they need to know to be able to understand what's going on in physical education. For instance, they need to know the difference between personal/self space and general space. They need to know what balance is, and that it's easier to balance in a low position than it is to balance in a high position. Those are important cognitive concepts for them to understand as they're going through our lessons. And those academic language vocabulary words need to be taught at the beginning of the lesson, brought to their attention, taught during the lesson, and then at the end make sure that they know and you check their understanding of those movement words at the end of the lesson. In fact, there are several laminated, laminated placards that are in McPHED that we will see during your co-teaching lessons this week. You're welcome to use any of those placards if you'd like for your movement vocabulary, or you can make your own. This is the end of Chapter 2 podcast, podcast number 5. The next podcast will be about Chapter 3, which is the Movement Concepts chapter.